Internet! What's up, Internet? What's going on? It's the middle of the week. It's Wednesday. What's up, guys? How you doing? Excuse me. Something. There's like a bubble in my mouth. That was weird. Whoa. Super weird. Super weird here on a Wednesday. What's going on, everybody? Hope you're having a fantastic middle of the week. I think it's Wednesday. I'm not 100% sure. Let me check the calendar down here. Wednesday, October the 3rd. The 3rd. It's good to be here on the 3rd. I don't know. I saw some kind of meme earlier, something to do with October 3rd and wearing pink. I have no idea what that's about. I feel like it's something I should know about, but I don't. And I didn't feel like expressing my ignorance about what the pink thing, about wearing pink today was all about. I don't know what that's all about. Hey, Mr. Duty. Mr. Chips. Hey, Mr. Chips. Come here, bud. I don't know. The dog's gone. Not here. But we do. I have to officially announce. Where did it go? Oh, there it is. I have to officially announce the dog cam is working. All right, I'm going to move it up here. I'm going to move it. Okay, I'm going to make it smaller. Sorry, guys. I made the dog cam too big. There we go. Because I could scoot over here and it'll make sense. We have no dog activity yet. At this juncture, we have no dog activity to report. But in case the dog shows, we do have a dog cam installed, which seems to be freaking out at some point in time. But, yeah, we'll see how it goes. But the dog cam is installed. Oh, hold on a second. I think we have dog action. Mr. Chips, you want to go in your bed? Go get in your bed. Get in your bed, buddy. It's right there. There you go. Come lay down. Come lay down, buddy. Hop in your bed. And he's over there doing doggy yoga. We'll see if he goes in his bed. Chances are he probably won't, because now we have a doggy cam, and he probably won't go into his bed. I don't know. But we'll see what happens if Mr. Chips will make an appearance or not. We are primed and ready just in case. You going to go in your bed? Come over here. Go get in your bed. Get in your bed, buddy. Get in there. Get in your little duty bed. Okay, we'll see. We'll see if Mr. Chips shows up or not. But we do have the doggy cam installed, and I'm happy to say it's not working very great, but it seems to be flickering in and out, which kind of gives it some excitement if there's not a dog there. But either way, at some point in time, maybe the dog will get into his bed, and then we can check in and see how his nap's going. Currently, he's chewing on his feet. Well, either way, dog cam is up and running, so we'll see how it goes over the next little period of time here with the dog cam, and see how it goes. Gotta say what's up to Oddball Aquatics, Candy Overhauls, and Matt Sorelli being first to the chat today. Way to be on the ball. Way to have your notifications turned on, right? Isn't that the whole thing these days? Like nowadays, everybody talks about, you gotta turn on your notifications. So, since everybody talks about it, I'm supposed to talk about it, right? Turn on your notifications, bros. I don't know. Whatever. You turn them on if you like, or you can watch the show later. We seem to have a lot more people watch the show later on than not. And some people have asked whether or not this is available as a podcast. Yes, thanks to Dan Squires and Alvin Alejo, the episodes are going up now as a podcast, and that's a whole fan-funded situation. I was unable to ever get that to work properly for me, to be able to upload them and somehow get it into my schedule and whatnot. So big shout out to Alvin and Dan for getting that rocking and rolling and getting it going. Getting it going full steam. It is these are going up as podcasts. Hopefully either Dan or Alvin can post the link into the chat, because as a terrible host, I was doing a terrible job and didn't get the link. So maybe those guys could post the link in there into the thing, and you guys can find it and figure it out. Brandon Wagner says, didn't get a notification, just happened to refresh my feed. Well, hey, at least that's working, right? So maybe we got that going, and maybe that's what's going on these days. Jen says, no, Mr. Chips, what? Oh, hold on. Dog cam. Hold on. Doggy cam in effect. Oh, we have ourselves a Mr. Chips. He's chewing on his feet. Congratulations, you guys. I can't get him. I don't know how to get him to turn around, though. But that is the backside of Mr. Duty himself, Mr. Chips. Dog cam is working today. Introducing Mr. Chips. Hey, buddy. What are you doing? Chips. Oh. Well, we shall see. Right now, he seems to be camera shy, but the dog cam is working. I don't know why it's not encoding. It doesn't seem to be encoding properly. It keeps flickering a little bit. But I'll keep you guys posted on Mr. Chips as the day rolls along. So, Mr. Chips making a little appearance. Love that guy. He's my buddy, and hopefully, we'll be able to check in with his face maybe, and not just his backside, but we shall see how it goes. Let's see. Who else do we got going on in the chat? We got Emilio Maldonado, Chad Krotz, Nick's Fish Room, Tyler Clinkscales. Ooh, I like it. He says, hey, man, you've been putting out so much content lately. Seriously, big thumbs up for all the hard work. I think there has been a lot of content going up, but I think I'm pretty much at the same rate that I have been for at least the last year. So I plan to keep it up if I can. I don't know. We'll see how things roll here. Speaking of how things roll here, Vicky Toria, as those of you that don't know, Vicky Toria is my partner, and she has our very first baby growing inside of her body like a human submarine. She's carrying around our baby girl, who, by the way, the naming is in flux right now. We've maybe got some other name ideas that we want to roll around in our heads. But either way, she's got our baby girl in there, and maybe, just maybe we'll at some point convert the dog cam into the baby cam. I don't know. I'm not sure. But the whole reason for talking about that was we got a lot of content coming out. I would like to keep the content coming. We shall see how things work out. I have no idea what things are going to look like in the future as far as having a baby, all the stuff that's going to be going into that, and being able to bring you guys content or not. I don't know if I'll be able to even do the live stream. I don't even know if I'll be able to do the live stream. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% certain. I'm not 100% certain why. Let's see here. I'm not 100% certain how things are going to go, whether or not I'll be able to do the live stream. There we go. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not sure if I'll be able to do this live stream or not moving forward. With daycare, all that kind of stuff, I'm not 100%. I'm just not 100%. have a bunch of work lined up at this point, so hopefully I'll be able to what's the word I'm looking for here? Well, I do have a bunch of work lined up, so hopefully I'll be able to like schedule some kind of daycare situation or something like that. I'm not sure. It might end up I might just have to figure out a new way of doing it, or maybe 1 day a week, or only 2 days a week, or something like that. Right now, we do 3 days a week, do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I try to get edited videos out in between there and on the weekend, and we'll see. We'll see how that's gonna pan out. I appreciate you guys tuning in and checking stuff out and sharing it if you like it. If not, then that's cool too. All that interactive stuff is just so important now to YouTube for whatever reason, like, you know, all the interactive sharing and all that kind of stuff just is really important, I guess, nowadays. Savannah says I don't get my notifications half the time, at least. Some channels I don't even get them at all, despite the fact they're all turned on. Yeah, I don't know about how YouTube is doing it nowadays. I have no clue what's going on either way. Bonsai Bench says, it's certainly the most challenging species you have bred yet. So respect for that. Yes, it should be pretty good as far as I'm concerned. Vicky and I had a long talk the other day, and I think we both reassured each other a lot of the stuff that we got going on. Our plan seems to be pretty solid as far as the birthing plan, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, as you guys can see, this room is turning into the nursery, so it is no secret mystery or anything like that. My office here that I live stream from is going to turn into the baby's nursery. So this is going to make a transformation in here, and I'm going to be moving my office to a different location in our home. So I'll still be here. I'll still be able to edit all that kind of stuff. So, but we'll just see what the time constraints look like and how things go. So, let's see here. Okay, Candy posted the Patreon. I gotta get the Patreon business out of the way right quick. As you guys know, on Monday we were at 305 patronizers. Today we are down to 298. We lost a bunch of people in the shuffle, and I'm sorry to see you go. That's always to be brutally honest with you guys, that's always one of those like really sad feelings when I see somebody leave. You know, there's a whole lot of positivity with the Patreon. The Patreon is how we crowdsource being able to do this. Hopefully, you know, I'm thinking in the future that a lot of the Patreon money is probably going to go towards daycare in order to be able to do the live show and edit and stuff like that. So it's monumental, you guys kicking in and helping crowdsource all of the projects I'm working on here and stuff. It's hugely awesome. So I want to say thanks to everybody. I know that you know, we've been losing some people, and that gets sad, and I get overly sad about it. Like, I'm like, oh man, you know, I feel like I let somebody down. And more often than not, whenever I get feedback from people, it's always like it's always something just like, you know what, I'm kind of broke right now. I got to get my you know, I gotta get it together for now, or this and that and the other thing. So it's never, well, it has. I've gotten a few that people had personal issue with me, and I'm like, okay, cool, man. If I could make it easier on you, then I would. But it's always been something like, you know, you smell bad, or I don't know. I guess if I smell bad, I could just take a shower, but. You know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? It's always just like, I don't even know what to do with that. Carson just showed up. He hasn't been on in a long time. Well, good to see you, Carson. Thanks. Good to see you. 54 Punchy says she just got a notification that this show is live, so she'll see us later. Okay, well, you know that. we'll see you in a little bit whenever you come back. Rogue Aquarium's here. When are the 120s going to be up and running? And the stocking, can't tell you any of the answers of either of those questions. I can't answer either of those questions. That's first of all, I don't want to spoil the surprises for you guys. And second of all, I don't know. I don't necessarily have a timeline, you know, kind of deal. So, we'll see. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I am seeing spots today, which means I'm probably gonna have a migraine here in a little bit. It's very weird. But that's normally a sign that I'm going to have a migraine here in a little bit. But that's all right, because I'll figure it out. I'll just turn all the lights off and sit in the dark and go, oh, my head. But, you know, it's just making it a little bit difficult to read today. But that's all right. Not a big deal. I'll probably have to go to the doctor someday for it. But that day ain't today. So either way, we'll just continue along with the show. And it's always a good idea to get to the video early. So I think we're going to get to the video early here in just a second. Oh, I was talking about the Patreon. Speaking of the Patreon, Matt Stevens just came in with an awesome pledge. Thank you very much, my guy. I wanted to mention to you guys that because we got our super chat here from our guy, Rumbust, throwing down a 1603 Swedish Krones super chat, and I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. One of the cool things about Patreon now is, like, if you wanted, okay, so dollars to dollars. Let's break this down a little bit. If we were to break down dollars to dollars as far as like a super chat versus the Patreon thing, we've talked about the percentages in the past. Whatever, we don't need to talk about that right now. It's not that big of a deal. What we need to really talk about is the dollars to dollars, the super chat versus a Patreon deal. So the Patreon, if you guys pop on there, we have a new thing. We have a new thing in place now that it'll charge you like right now if you want. So if you're somebody that wants to super chat, you have a bunch of questions, you have this and that. I find that the Patreon to be a much better spot to go to the Patreon and say you have a bunch of questions, right? So let's say you have a bunch of questions, you want to try to explain your aquarium setup, all that kind of stuff. Well, on Fridays, what I do is I review the questions and comments and fish tanks and stuff like that that people post onto the Patreon, right? So the Patreon will actually host y'all's pictures and stuff like that, and or your YouTube channel or any of that kind of stuff that you may or may not want people to be able to check out. Obviously, I review them ahead of time to make sure they're appropriate or contextual or whatever. But I find the Patreon to be a great place if you were, like, say you had a really detailed question or something like that, because you can post it up there, a nice long explanation, what your water parameters are. Like, here's a picture of maybe a sick fish or a plant that's not growing properly or something like that. I find it to be a much better value, right, for most people, as opposed to a super chat that scrolls by and goes by super fast. Now, I appreciate everybody super chatting. It's an awesome, it's an awesome feature. If that's something that you guys want to do, totally cool. I'm saying, either way, there's options, and maybe you can, maybe you can't. As you guys know, I try to read the chat as much as I can and answer questions from the chat. So if you're not somebody that can do any of those things, then that's cool too. All right, let's move on. We'll get to the let's get to the video real quick. We got a question from Rory saying, yo, Joel, any suggestions for a CO2 kit for a 15-gallon? I'm using a liquid CO2 right now, but I'd like to make things easier, etc. I for something like a 15-gallon, you guys know me, I will go big with equipment, mainly just because we all have like multiple tank syndrome, all that kind of stuff. So if you're to go with like a smaller, I find that if you buy smaller, like nano equipment or something like that, there's a link to a CO2 regulator right there in the chat for you with a solenoid on it. You could put it on a timer, all that. You can even find a, you could find like a paintball gun canister, CO2 canister adapter that can adapt to something smaller like that. But I find that if you buy that smaller stuff and we all end up upgrading and buying a new tank or buying a bigger tank or more tanks or whatever. You really just end up down the road ending up buying the bigger, buying like the bigger equipment like later on. It's the same thing I go with like power tools and stuff like that. Like I'll buy the better power tools because, hey, Biddy, hey, what are you doing? All right, we got somebody at the door, I think. Who is it? Is it a ghost? Oh, lordy, it's the Amazon guy. He's gone now, though. But anyhow, like I was saying, I go with the same thing I do with power tools, which is like I buy I kind of save up and buy the better version. Because anytime I do find myself purchasing something like a CO2 regulator or something like that, I end up like going bigger later on, and then I'm like, oh, I've got this stupid small thing that doesn't work very well. And a perfect example in my own experience here would be like this right here. So I went with a cheaper video or audio encoder, and it worked well for a while. But as you guys know, I was having these off and on again issues with the audio always, and a lot of that had to do with this cheaper audio encoder, which actually does work pretty well, and it's not like a total piece of garbage or anything like that. It's not a paperweight or anything, but it has issues for what I needed to do, which I needed to encode one way or the other and be able to switch back and forth. Now, the the Scarlet that I ended up getting, which let me see if I can't find a link for it, because I'm using it right now, so I can't do that. Scarlet audio interface 2nd generation. So I ended up having to go with this more expensive version right here. You guys can check it out if it's something that you're interested in. Like maybe you want to broadcast audio at some point in time or whatever. Like that's a great tool right there that I use. So as an example, I bought the cheaper one. It was much cheaper. It was like $79 versus $180 or whatever. It was like $100 cheaper. Does it work? Yes. Does it do what I need it to do? Nah, not so much. Does it work great for if I'm just recording audio? Yep. It works great for that. It does the stuff that I want it to do, but it isn't able to switch back and forth from different sources and that kind of stuff the way that I need it to do. And I just, so I just kind of go that route when I can. I know that sometimes people need a sort of stop-loss product or whatever that will just get you through what you need to do. So that might be an issue that that a lot of other people probably run into. So that's typically like a piece of advice that I would give to people, especially with a CO2 setup, because if you buy like the yeast and sugar kind of setup deal, you're buying stuff over and over again. If you're going from you know, if you're going from you know, that setup, and then maybe you're going to do liquid, you're having to buy liquid, you're having to dose it all the time. I would just personally spring for a better regulator, a better tank setup, and it will probably just last a lot longer in a smaller aquarium. If you're running, like, let's say you had a 10-pound CO2 tank and you're running that, you might be able to even just run that thing for the whole entire year and not have to switch it. You know, if you had a timer on there running correctly and stuff like that. RJL says he's having problems with the stream. I'm not sure why. As Candy says, it's been an issue for it's been an issue this week trying to get people's playback to work properly on their end. My encoder says it's working correctly. YouTube says that I am broadcasting correctly. I have the green light. The green light says that I'm broadcasting correctly. It's not dropping anything, so I'm not sure what it could be on other people's ends. It seems like YouTube sending out to certain areas are having issues. I don't know why. Oh, Aquariums with Ty just showed up. What's up, guy? Good to see you. Tampa time. What are you doing? I see Alyssa Bentley. I see Secret History. What's up, Alex? Good to see you. Richard's Tanks is here. Clicking the Amazon link brought me right back to your channel. Am I technologying wrong again? I don't know. That one went there. Let me see. Amazon link. I don't know. Those seem to be working. The links seem to be working properly for me. I click through them. They seem to be working. Apparently people are talking about the $1 per gallon sale. I think the $1 per gallon sale is fantastic. If it's something that you can take advantage of, I would say go for it. Personally, for me, as you guys know, I have spent a boatload of money, and so did Vicky, getting some new custom tanks made, mainly because I'm tired of $1 per gallon sale type tanks. I'm tired of glass tanks. I'm tired of used tanks and polishing tanks and doing all that kind of stuff for my fish room. My fish room is pretty modest, so we're just kind of fitting the tanks that I want to deal with, and it's been a really long process to get here. I know that some people are like, wow, man, that's awesome that you just get to have all these new tanks and stuff. It's been, you know, it's been over a decade to get to this point. So, you know, it's been a lot of hard work to get to this point. Things are going really well, and I appreciate it. But there's definitely been a lot invested, and if you guys are in the $1 per gallon sale right now, there's no shame in that game, because I was there for a really long time, and it is a great opportunity to get to work on some of the tanks that you want to do some of the projects that you want to do, and not be out a ton of money. You know what I mean? Looking at the bank account going, uh-oh, okay, what do I do now? So, yeah, either way. And as Valerie says, she needs like 3 more tanks. I think you do. Yeah, I think 100%. I think everybody needs 3 more tanks, right? I think that's kind of the case, right? So I would definitely get more tanks if I could, but we've already got more tanks going, and I really made the decision with Vicky that we're just going to get the right tanks and go from there. I'm going to play the video in the background and answer some of your guys' questions that you have in the chat right now. I will talk about what I'm doing in the video here at a little bit later, but I'm going to let it play, let it marinate, and you guys can kind of watch that while I answer some questions. Alyssa says, I have a degree in computer animation with a minor in web design from 2003. Nice. I think Alyssa Bentley, I think I would put Alyssa on my short list of people that I'm going to try and get to maybe someday do some design or some animation or something. Like, what's the deal? Maybe you got to get some weekend projects going here, Alyssa, and start doing some Fish Fam animation. You know what I'm saying? I know a guy who needs some animation. Me, you know. Like, what are your rates? What's the deal? Do you got a portfolio? Come on now. You can't just start talking to me about how you could do animation and things and then just leave me hanging. You know, don't leave me hanging. Benjamin P says, when would you recommend acrylic over glass? The only time that I would say don't go acrylic is in a serious rimless situation. So you see a lot of tanks like the Aquascaper tanks that George Farmer works on that are the rimless tanks. Glass is definitely the good, is definitely the best way to go for that. And mainly because eventually acrylic will bend. It just doesn't. It just is a product that does that. I had the pleasure to be able to work on. I had the pleasure of being able to work on a rimless tank that was, I believe, only 22 gallons, but it was super shallow, sort of frag tank deal. And it was made out of super thick acrylic. I think it was 15/16 thick, so it was like just shy of an inch thick, which is pretty thick acrylic. And it had been that way. It had been set up for about 5 years, and you could see the bowing to the acrylic. And one of the reasons for that is keep our tanks warm, stuff like that, and it just eventually does push slowly against the acrylic. It wasn't in any... there was no signs of it going to crack or break or anything like that, but it just had bowed a little bit over time. And so in the rimless applications, that's when I say you got to go glass and go that route. And that's going to be the best. That's going to be the best kind of scenario to go glass instead of acrylic. But cost-wise, obviously acrylic's a lot more expensive. But one of the big deals with acrylic for me is that it's lightweight. I can move it around. The 120 gallons are 4 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot, right? It's a pretty big tank. I can pick them up and carry them around. They're not light. I won't say that they are lightweight. They're probably about, I mean, if I had to guesstimate, it feels like when I'm carrying it, it probably feels like two bags of concrete is kind of what it feels like when I'm carrying it. So it's probably between 80 and 100 pounds. I'm saying the smaller bags of concrete, not the 80-pounders. The smaller, like, quick set concrete, the 50 pounds. It feels like 2 of those when I'm carrying it. So it's not out of the realm of weight. It's just a little awkward to get your hands around it and actually carry it around. But I can carry it. I moved both of them into the fish room by myself. No real problem other than just being careful not to run into walls or anything like that. And so that's one of the big advantages is weight. Last time I tried to move a glass 120, I think a glass 120 is 280 pounds, I think. Let's see here. Glass 120 gallon aquarium weight. Let's see. So 120 gallon is 215 pounds. Well, let's go like this. This is something that I want to try and get better at doing. So I'm going to try to do a little bit more of this as time goes on. You guys can actually see my Google search. I'm going to try to do more of that in the future. So common fish tank sizes. So a 75-gallon glass aquarium is 140 pounds. A 90's 160. A 110 extra high, which is whatever. Who has that? And a 120, which is the size that I have now, those are 48.5 by 24.25 by 25.5. So the ones I have, it's 25 tall technically, because the inside is what's measured on it. So it's actually the 120s that I have are actually 120 gallons. They're not minus the glass. So they're actually 25 tall and like 25 deep, and then 48 or 49 wide or something like that. So, but that's my favorite space to work in is that 4 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot. That's my favorite space to work in. So that's what we went for. They're really pretty awesome. So if you think about it, the 120 gallon glass aquarium being 215 pounds, right, is at least twice the weight. And I can carry 215 pounds worth of weight, but not distributed like a crazy fish tank shape. That's like a big fish tank shape. I'm probably going to drop it. It's probably going to break, or something crazy is going to happen. Glass shards flying all over the place. And, we used to move around all of my glass aquariums. I had a glass 210. I had a glass 210 gallon aquarium, which that thing was, let's see what that weighs. 210. I forget off the top of my head. Weights and measures. Here we go. Oh, we got the Aquarium. This would be kind of good. Let's see. How do I change it? Oh, this isn't very good. This is when the show gets not good, you guys. So I got to go add source, screen capture, smart selection. Let's look at let's see what Aquarium has to say for themselves. All right, let's make this a little bit bigger so people can actually read it. There we go. So we got all the way down at the 210 down here at the bottom. Woo! Empty weight, 343 pounds. Oh, my gatos. Their 120, Aquarium's 120 is actually only 191 pounds, so it's a little bit lighter, but yeah, you know how it goes. Realistically, we used to move around. It wasn't an Aquarium brand, because the one that we had was 380 pounds, I believe, off the top of my head. It was a little bit heavier than that. Either way, we used to move that around, and to be honest with you guys, when I really decided to no longer do glass aquariums was the moment where I had that thing up like right here. We had to go up and over a spot, then I had to walk backwards with it, and I was in the corner. And so I basically had to take it and go like this and put it down onto the stand. The guy holding the other end sort of, I don't know, like moved his feet or shuffled himself around or something, and the tank like came backwards and pinned me up against the wall. And after that, I really just didn't want to have that ever happen again. It was a little scary, and it was definitely like, the guy that was moving it with me definitely was like, man, you almost just died. It was like, yeah. And needless to say, I had to repair the drywall. But it's just ridiculous to try and move those big tanks around and stuff like that. And that was the moment that I was like, where's a better way to do this? So it really that's when I really, really made the change. But there will be a glass aquarium coming back to the fish room here fairly soon, which I think you guys might be a little bit excited for. Not to spoiler alert, future videos or anything like that, but there is a glass aquarium that will be making an appearance for a certain amount of time. I don't know how long it's going to be there or not, or where it's going to go, or that. I can't answer any of those questions right now, but there will be a kind of a cool tank visiting the fish room for a while. I don't know how long I'm going to keep it, though. Josh Kelly with a $2 super chat saying, any opinion on air quote dry starting a tank? Thanks. Yes, I do have a lot of opinions on on dry starting an aquarium, and most of my opinions are in the negative direction. It realistically, I don't think that it's a great way to go about starting an aquarium. You know, as I've mentioned in previous live streams and stuff like that, I don't even like to plant an aquarium that's not full of water. Even when I aquascape and stuff like that, I normally fill the tank once the hardscape is all in, and then I add the plants. You know, and the big reason for that is in a planted aquarium, we're looking for balance. We really want to have some kind of balance, that the plants are growing and helping filter the water. They're helping with the biofilm. They're helping to take care of the plants. They're oxygen, or they take care of the fish and the shrimp and all that kind of stuff. They're taking care of the aquarium, and we're trying to create an environment where these plants will do well growing underwater. Starting out with the dry start method and having your plants grow and fill in that way, there are a lot of hurdles to go to get through. You know, first of all, most of the aquarium plants that you get, they may or may not have been grown immersed, but they're going to have to deal with some type of conversion. They're going to have to deal with some type of conversion to your situation. Now, if you want them to convert to the underwater situation, which will be your future, you might as well go through that hassle and headache when you have them, or when you get them, and convert them to live in your aquarium where you're going to want them to live long term, right? Whereas you get them transported, you get them dropped off, you have to convert them to your aquarium situation, and you're like, okay, you're going to be a terrestrial plant, and you grow them in the tank as a terrestrial plant. They've gone through all the steps to get to where you're at, where you're putting them into the aquarium, and then they're going through all of the the transitional stuff into your aquarium, and everything's going to be growing essentially above ground in the aquarium, and then eventually you're going to flood it. One of the biggest problems most everybody runs into, first and foremost, is they have a tendency to get mold and fungus while they're dry starting the aquarium. So they're going to have to battle mold. You're going to have to battle fungus. You want to make sure that your humidity is right. There's a lot of things that you got to do to dry start a tank, and battle a lot of things that you otherwise wouldn't have to if it was flooded and filled with water. You know, I prefer to have my tanks flooded and filled with water. That's like kind of the best way to go about it, in my opinion. But you know, and then once you fill the tank, now you're going to be battling a lot of other problems, and a lot of those problems are going to be heavily related to dealing with algae. You know, algae is going to be a problem. You're going to see a lot of blackbeard algae, hair algae, green spot algae. All sorts of algae are going to really start showing up right away because you haven't balanced the system out yet. So I don't think it's really a time saver like a lot of people have advertised it in the past. Like, I don't think that it's a time saver necessarily. And I think that people expend a lot of energy to really do it in order to save time from the tank growing in. And the way that I feel about it, I would skip the dry start method and go straight to planting an aquarium, filling it up. And here's the thing I would hold off on if I was trying to expedite the plant grow-in process. I would hold off on adding any kind of fish or any critters or anything like that, because you could just have CO2 at crazy high levels. You can have your fertilizer at crazy high levels and just grow and grow and grow and grow, and not worry about the fish that could be in there, shrimp that are in there, snails, any of that kind of stuff, and alleviate those problems first, and be able to just have the tank grow in really rapidly with a lot of fertilizer, a lot of CO2 and stuff like that, without killing any of its inhabitants. That's the way that I would go, and I've done that in the past and found it to be a lot more beneficial than a dry start. I definitely skipped on a dry start mainly because of all the issues that you really run into. And biologically speaking, it is a lot easier to get a tank to cycle once it's filled with water, you know? So that too is another great way to go about it. Rogue Aquarium says, check out Clear Fabrications for acrylic. He's a custom manufacturer and he's been building tanks for 22 years. I can say if you want to get an acrylic aquarium, you know, Clear Fabrications is the guy. Jason is the dude. I currently have 4 tanks. I accidentally have bought his tanks secondhand from people just because they're that nice, even when they're used and screwed up. So that is the guy that I got my tanks from, and I'm really pleased with his work. I'm really happy. Everything is straight. All the seams are perfect. Everything is polished correctly. Everything looks really good. It's kind of crazy to have a tank that just has no scratches or anything in it. There's no scratch, there's no dirt, there's no nothing. I still have plastic wrap on them because I've been working on the plumbing and shooting the plumbing video, which I hope to have done fairly soon. We'll see if I was hoping to get the plumbing video out tomorrow, but I don't have the sumps for them yet, so it's kind of waiting on that. And I also gotta talk to Vicky and see exactly what she wants to do with the sumps and whether or not we should just go pick them up or order them or build them ourselves or what she wants to do, so that you know, I like to, what is it, happy wife, happy life? Is that how that goes? Happy partner, happy something that rhymes with partner that means day-to-day operations or something. I don't know. Jeff Rose Tanks is here. Jeff Rose Fish Keeping. Sorry, I said Jeff Rose Tanks. Rhino's Aquatics is here. Like I said, every time I see Rhino's avatar and the name Rhino, I think it's a Rhino Gear camera equipment rep, and I'm like, hey man, sponsor me. I want a gimbal. It's like, I want a gimbal real bad, and then now I'm not upset. I'm just saying it happens to me every time. I'm like, oh, it's the Rhino Gear guy. Oh. Candy Overhaul says, I wish I had that huge clump of plant you just ripped out. Yeah, that gives you guys an idea of how big this aquarium is. So that big clump of pearlweed, which let me see if I can't find you a link for it. I can. Here we go now. Oh, it'll take me a second to get it. I don't. Man. Pop-ups on copy. This will take a second. Log in. Oh, there we go. Do you imagine that I should log in, right? Okay, so this plant is pearlweed. This is one of my all-time favorite plants, realistically, as far as aquascaping goes. One of the big reasons for it is that it's pretty readily available nowadays. It used to not. There's a link right there if you're interested in checking it out. If it's something that you want to pick up. I know Corey from the Aquarium Co-op. That's the link right there. Yeah, this show is in part brought to you by the generosity of Corey and the Aquarium Co-op. You know, if you guys don't know that and haven't figured that out by this point, mad props to my boy Corey for being hugely supportive and being an awesome dude. Because I'm pretty sure they sponsored that pearlweed that's in there. I think he hooked that up as a sponsorship thing. If I remember correctly from having made the video, I got some pots from the Aquarium Co-op. That's where I got it. So if you're looking for the exact kind of pearlweed, let me move me to the other side over here. And let me engage the whiteboard. So the plant that I'm actually talking about is this right here. It's one of my all-time favorite plants, and I'm almost always so Tony's asking what's the Latin name. It's Hemianthus micranthemoides, or glomeratus. It's a really cool plant that I've been messing around with for years and years and years. I've always gotten so many compliments and so many questions about it. People have always asked. I used to do nano tanks with this all the time. I used to constantly do nano tanks with the pearl weed. That stargrass that I have there is a similar type of plant that I've been messing with for years. It's one of the reasons why I have the super vibrant bright green varietal. It's one of the plants that it's one of the few plants that made it from the move, the big disaster move to move from Seattle down to Tacoma, where I live now. It's one of the few plants that survived. I had it in I think I had it in a different bucket or a plastic bag or something like that. You know, it's one of the few plants that I've been growing for years and years that managed to survive the move. You know, but neither of these plants need an extreme intensity of light. I would definitely recommend an LED type light. Currently, right now, I'm using the Fluval 2.0 and the Fluval 3.0 on this 240. I have both of those lights on here. They're just one's on one side and one's on the other side, so not really that big of a big deal. I currently have 4 lights on the 240 right now, and mainly because I just didn't want to set them on the ground somewhere or something crazy like that. And I don't know about lights for the 240 or for the new 120s yet. I'm pretty sure I'm going to go with the Fluval 3.0s. We shall see. I'm definitely, as far as the substrate goes, I'm definitely going with the Fluval Stratum. That is that's going to be the main substrate that is going in there, along with EcoComplete and a few other things. If nobody has ever seen this substrate, the Fluval Stratum, I highly recommend it. I've had a ton of success with this substrate. It's a volcanic soil. It's really nice, and I'll get you a link here real quick in case, because it is a weird name. So if anybody's super confused as to what it is that I'm saying, there's a link. You can click on it, or you don't need to. It's just taking you to Amazon. If you're confused as to what I'm talking about, but you can actually take a look at it. It's a cool volcanic substrate. That's what I'm going to be using there. I find these LED lights to be very, very sufficient for doing the for growing stargrass or pearlweed. I don't know if I would necessarily just do one on this size of a tank if I had real highlight plants. I've got some Ludwigia, a lot of crypts, some pogostemon in here, along with some other sort of highlight plants and things. I'm going to be kind of relocating them so that I can probably just use 2 lights on this aquarium, but I'm not sure. I honestly have to see about setting up the 120s and make sure that I'm doing that correctly and the way that I want it to work properly. Let's see. Gerson says, how often do you have to replace it, or when does it stop being effective? I find it to be really effective, as long as one of the big things to point out to people, that substrates do need to be agitated a little bit. They can't just become a really compacted mess. One of the ways that I deal with that is Malaysian trumpet snails. Malaysian trumpet snails will dig around in the substrate and do it for you. One of the other methods that I utilize quite a bit, which many, many, many years ago I learned from Tom Barr himself, was, take your plants out and replant them. It seems like, hey man, what are you talking about? The plant's growing good. What are you da. And he's like, hey, man, if you want long-term health with any kind of plant, then you really need to take them out and replant them on a regular basis. It's not every week or anything crazy like that, but they need to be moved around to keep the substrate healthy, to keep the plant healthy. It reinvigorates the root growth, and it also mixes up the substrate a little bit. Typically with Fluval or ADA, Fluval Stratum or ADA Amazonia or anything like that, the biggest issue that most people find is that they don't work with it mashing it up, right? So that's ultimately what becomes the big problem. Once you mash it up into a really compacted situation, then that's kind of that's what ends up being the big issue. Fishhead's asking how much stratum fluorite mix would you recommend for a 40 breeder? I would get the bigger bag of stratum, whatever size that is. Let me see what it is. 17.6 pounds. And then I would get 2 of the smaller bags of fluorite, and I would just match them. So if you got black stratum, I'd get black fluorite so that it mixes up well, and you don't have like this real varied coloring in your substrate. That, long term, I find that to be the best thing to do. It does look really fancy in the fancy aquascaping out there if you're doing multiple, like a path or something like that, and multiple colors and sand and some white sand over this area, and that it is great, but it's not really a long-term aquascaping move. That's going to be a more often than not the sort of temporary aquascaping move that will get really mixed up and kind of looks crazy. Halana Suki says, okay, Vexen Cat, I tried refresh. That didn't help. Must be YouTube silliness. Yeah, I bet YouTube is just trying to get me to stop live streaming, which I'm not going to do. YouTube should figure it out. I'm sorry that some people are having problems out there. It really sucks. Big Germ 86 with a $5 super chat says, is the new tank going to be a shell dweller tank like Multis? Most likely no. I would absolutely love to do a shell dweller, a multi-tank again at some point in time. But I just don't think I can dedicate one of these tanks to that. I think realistically, one of the tanks is going to get, like one of the things that I'm thinking about is taking the school of rummy nose out of the 240 that's there right now, and getting in another couple hundred rummy nose, and putting that into one of the 1.8 into one of the 120s, and sort of just compacting the school. Keeping them nice and tight and in together. They're doing great in the 240, but I think it's would be better to move those over, and then I could actually move some more sizable fish or something like that. But then again, it always depends on availability. It's like, I can't tell if the rummy nose have been breeding in here or not, as them being an egg scatterer and stuff. Normally the eggs just don't ever make it. They just don't ever make it to fully grown. But I will say that there are a lot of things breeding in the 240, because I keep finding babies of not rummy nose, but I keep finding bristle nose babies in the sump, and I'm also have found some apistogramma babies. So they're in there, So, that's going on. Bentley says, I know a guy with a few multis. He lives in Kent. That's right, Bentley. I am considering an idea for for a multi-tank, but as I mentioned earlier, that's probably the new tank that I'm going to get. I'm using the whiteboard and writing all over my face. There we go. Smooth. I have to turn the whiteboard off and move myself up here. I guess somebody the other day was wondering about bulbitis, whether or not I'm interested in bulbitis, but I will remind people that you see this whole corner of the 240 right here? This is all bulbitis. There are big bulbitis bushes, and yeah, there's no way I'm ever going to... I forget. I have to turn off the whiteboard. There we go. There. I love bulbitis. That's also one of my great plants. Nando Manuel says Pro Weed Monte Carlo. Actually, kind of two. They're actually two different plants. I have a lot of issues with growing Monte Carlo in my water here, unless I'm being like if I'm paying like super attention to my water situation for the Monte Carlo. Otherwise, Monte Carlo just dies out over time in my water here with water changes and that kind of stuff. It's just a deal. It's just not a great plant for me to deal with. So pearlweed's a little bit different. Let me see here. Joshua Kelly says, with a $5 super chat, says that'll work perfect for setting up my mom a Christmas tank. I can get all the plants nice and grown in. Thanks a lot for the advice. Oh, well, thanks for the super chat. Thanks for coming in to ask some questions. Thanks for showing up for the live show and asking some questions. Excuse me. Oh, Nikki says, I'm going to bed. It's 1 a.m. here. Nice stream. Oh, thanks for coming out so late. Get some sleep, because tomorrow's a big old Thursday that we all got to deal with. I'm going to have to be wrangling up a Thursday. Yesterday, I was out working in the hail and rain, and I thought it was going to snow at one point. I was wrong. It wasn't that cold out, but it definitely hailed on me. It definitely torrential downpoured on me. I didn't have my rain gear with me yesterday, so people were making fun of me a lot because I cut a hole. I cut 3 holes in a garbage bag and used that as my rain gear yesterday. You know, it's always kind of like the first big weather event of the year is when I forget my rain gear. You know what I mean? And so people were having a lot of laughs at my expense, and I'll admit it was pretty funny. I probably should have taken a picture, but my hands were all muddy and wet and stuff, and I was kind of avoiding messing with my new phone with muddy, wet hands, if I'm honest. Big Germ's asking, does Monte Carlo like soft or hard water? Monte Carlo likes a mineral-rich water. It likes a hard water a lot more than it does soft water. So if you have soft water, I'd say go with pearlweed. If you have harder water, go with Monte Carlo. And that's just kind of the easy explanation. It just, I don't have to amend my water as much for the pearlweed. So pearlweed works out a lot better. And if you have super mineral-rich water, don't necessarily go with the pearlweed unless you're filtering it very, very heavily before adding it to the tank. Let's see. Bentley Pascal says, water wisteria, duckweed, dwarf water lettuce are all good options. Oh, who are we asking here? Milo, best plants that grow fast with low light. Any cryptocrine species is going to be fantastic. You can see some of them here. The whiteboard. Here's some back here. There's some big tall ones, and I got some little short ones over here. Let me see what my recommended crypt. Let's see. Not all right. I want to see how many crypts does Corey have. Parva is a highlight. Lucens is a low light. Lutea is a low light. Wendetii is a low light, and Spiralis is a low light. So here's a link right here. Let me just get this made into a link so that you guys can check it out. Paste. Generate. Yeah, I have to make the links smaller because otherwise YouTube gets super mad. There's our boy Corey. There's his list of crypts that he's got there. The only one I wouldn't recommend for a low light is the Parva. That's the only one that I wouldn't recommend for low light. Everything else, all of those cryptocrines will do a lot of good for a low light, well maintained tank, and you'll see a lot of good results from there. From those. Uhutuhurabi, I don't know how to say your name. It's like a car. As your avatar. It says, hi, can you recommend a bulletproof, fast-growing plant that don't require CO2? Much respect from Denmark. Thank you for a cool live stream. Well, much respect to the Danish. As you guys know, I have my lineage is Danish. I hope to make it to out to Denmark someday. I was so close. I was so close out there in Germany and Austria and Hungary. but someday. I'll make it there someday, you guys, for sure. As Dan said, try hygrophilia. Yes, hygros, as you can see here in, do I have the whiteboard turned on? So this is pogostemon right here. This is a pogostemon, but it grows a lot like a hygro does. It grows these stems and will grow up towards the light, which is what you're looking for if you're looking for a stem plant that you want in a lower light kind of situation. As the stem grows up closer and closer to the light, it does a pretty good job of starting out and getting up to the higher light and then just kind of growing nice and long. And hygros do that also. They grow very similarly as far as their structure goes and whatnot, and is a pretty good option. Although I would recommend to most people out there, if you do switch over to an LED light, you're not going to have to go super crazy with the lighting like you used to have to with incandescent or fluorescent lights or T5s, any of that kind of stuff. You don't need to go super crazy with it because the LED light is much more efficient at moving through the water. The wavelength is a little bit different. It's much more directional and does a great job where you would typically be, with air quotes, a lower light, right? You'd be like, oh, it's pretty low light as far as the PAR rating goes, but the PER is much higher. The usable radiation from the light is much higher with LEDs, without it being so much visible light necessarily. Like, it's not as big of a deal to be super highlight tank if you kind of switch over to an LED situation. It seems to not only have I definitely read about the science behind it, but in my experience, I will say that that it has worked out a lot better for me personally, just from an actual personal standpoint. Woo! All right, let's see what's going on here. Did I catch up on all the super chats? I think I did. Okay, cool. We're caught up on the super chats. Thanks for you guys. So the main work that's been going on the 240, as you guys know, I've been going through kind of a reconstruction process on the 240 here. And a lot of this has to do with the new tanks going into the fish room, because where the new tanks are is going to kind of isolate the right-hand corner. If you're facing the tank, the right-hand side is not going to be as visible, but that's where the return comes from. So I'm actually just going to be utilizing that as more of a shaded area, and then moving more of the highlight plants and things like that to the left-hand side of the aquarium, because it'd be much more visible over there moving forward. So it still leaves us with about 7 feet of viewing, but there's about a foot off to the right-hand side that's kind of just going to be behind one of the 120s, and I'd rather not have that be the most interesting area that is difficult to see. So that has been the reasoning for a lot of the work that's going on the 240. Also, plants are starting to encroach on each other, and the pearl weed is way overgrown. I don't want it to be as tall as it is. Plus, it needs replanting at this point, so it was time to move it out. There's this big chunk of driftwood. I don't know if you guys notice it right here that seems all awkwardly out of place, and that's because I had taken it out and I put it in a bin to let it I just put it in a bin, just put it to the side, and then it completely dried out. So, as you guys know, I got a dehumidifier running in the fish room, so dehumidifier plus time, hey, the driftwood dries back out. So it was back to its floating state. It wasn't waterlogged anymore, so I just dropped it into the 240 here and was like, it'll get waterlogged over a little while. Well, it did get waterlogged, and then it just fell into a spot that it almost had this appearance that that's where I wanted it to be, until I realized, like, wait a minute, I didn't actually put that there. It actually just sunk kind of in a cool spot, but I still had to move it. So you guys will notice that, along with some other things. Most of the rock that is in here is Dragonstone Okono. How do you say that? Okono stone. Maybe I'm saying that right. I'm probably saying it wrong. No worries. You guys know what I'm talking about. Dragonstone. That's most of the stones that's in here. And most of all of the driftwood is Mopani, though I do have some plans on adding some other stuff in the future. But let's see. So I got all that done. Now the Aeriocalum, they're all starting to split again. So I need to actually get those split and sort of make this little carpeted area that I've been looking forward to do for at least the last 9 months that I've been growing these plants. And now it is about time to do it because I've propagated enough of the Aeriocalums to the point where I can actually do what I want to do with them, and that's actually occupy a really a larger space. Instead of using them as a highlight plant, I want to use them as not necessarily a carpet, but I just want to have this nice little hill of them. And I'm finally to the point where I have enough of them. They've propagated enough that I'm going to be able to do that. So I'm looking forward to that. The pearl weed's actually moving a lot to the back, mainly because just how leggy it has a tendency to get in this tank. So with how tall it's growing and stuff, it's going to look a lot better towards the back of the tank, and I'll be a lot happier with it growing back there. Even if it hits the 6-inch, 7-inch, 8-inch, 12-inch mark, I won't be that concerned about it. Whoa. Sorry, I had to run away. I don't know what that was. Whew. Somebody had dropped off packages, and then there was like more people kicking around on my porch. Turns out somebody else dropped off packages, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure what it was going on, but it was just more packages for Vicky. So sorry, I had to go jump up and go like, what's going on? What is the dog barking at now? We already had deliveries, and I just for some reason I had that inclination that somebody might be stealing something off of the I thought somebody might be stealing something off the porch with the dog freaking out, but it turns out some more stuff was delivered for Vicky. I don't know what it is, but it's probably going to be cool at some point in time. Let's see. Meatman's asking, what's that red plant right there? Not sure which one you're asking about. If it's this little one, it's Alternanthera renekii. That's a variegated version of it. You know, so that's a variegated tiny version of it, which to basically explain is like, it's just a tiny version of it, and it's variegated, and I don't want to, I guess I just don't want to break into like all that at this point. There's some Ludwigia senegalensis that's in here also, and the Climnopodium brownii is also in there too. So it might be one of those that you're looking at. And by the way, yes, I did have to look up my notes on this tank, which is why I have my notes on this tank. Because boy howdy, when you start to think about it, I've got probably 100 species of plants or something crazy like that, and it just adds up, and I can't remember it all, because I'm going to be brutally honest with you guys. I find it like super easy if it was something that I worked with every day and was like sending out orders or something like that, but it's not something that I work with the plants all the time, and I don't even really think about their names. I just, at this point, I'm sort of just knee-jerk. I just think about the conditions that they need. That's kind of all it is. It's like I don't think of, Mr. Chips. Mr. Chips, what's up, buddy? Come here. You want up? No, like I don't think of Mr. Chips as he's like, hey man, what kind of dog are you, buddy? I just think like, oh man, he's hungry, um, So that's just kind of one of the ways that I go about it. Whew. All right. Well, I feel like I'm rambling on at this point, so let's go back to the main screen here. Mr. Chips, get in your dog bed. Get in your dog bed. No? He doesn't want to get in his dog bed. So, but either way, hopefully everybody's having a fantastic Wednesday out there. I'm realizing that I got to get kind of back to work. I've got at least an hour's worth of stuff to get cleaned up and things before Vicky gets home. I got to start dinner too. So, if anybody has any questions here at the end, let's answer some questions and see what's going on. Let's see. Do you have a cleaning crew of risk or shrimps on the 240? And do you have any plans to add more? Oh, okay. So the 240 actually has a breeding colony of bristlenose plecos. There's at least 2 or 3 pair in there at this point in time. Now they're the super reds, so they do kind of blend in a little bit. They're not the brown ones, but they look bright orange. So I do have the bristlenose in there. They do a lot of cleaning in there, and I have no idea how many cherry shrimp are in there right now. 1,000 easy. It could easily be 1,000 cherry shrimp in the 240 at this point. Some may or may not get eaten at some point. I have no idea. They're just breeding in there like crazy. Anytime I pull a plant, there's shrimps in it. The sump is full of shrimp. It just got a lot of shrimp in there. That's definitely helping. And Malaysian trumpet snails. There are a couple of pond snails in there, but mostly Malaysian trumpet snails and ram's horn snails, which I do have to amend my water to make sure I have enough minerals in there. I do that with Wonder Shell mostly is what I use. I'll just drop one of those in every couple of weeks just to add some extra calcium and stuff like that to the water. I would use crushed coral, but I used all my crushed coral setting up the new reef tank. So I really hope to do more on the reef tank. I think that might be tomorrow's video. I might end up making a video tonight to kind of show off, highlight the new little reef tank, which I'm kind of enjoying at this point. I think it's coming out well. I've got a lot of aquascaping in there to do still, but I'm liking it. I'm definitely enjoying it, and I like it a lot more where it's at compared to where it was at before. So, Quadacy just showed up. Says, do you think it's possible to keep shrimp with zebra danios, or will the zebras pick them off? Zebra danios probably will eat shrimp, but if you have a healthy shrimp breeding population, it's not going to be that big of a deal. But I'm not saying it would be perfect or not. Zebra danios are a small predatorial type fish, so they're a quick moving fish that does at times get chances to eat tiny shrimps. They might not eat the full size ones, but they will eat the tiny ones, that's for sure, or if they can. Alana Suki says, I put some corkscrew valve and a terracotta pot in my tank. Can I or should I add a root tab to the pot? Probably. Yeah, I mean, with corkscrew valve, I've found that it is a good idea to add root tabs. They do have a possibility to get a little wonky if you don't. Barbara's asking, what do you think of using cuttlefish bone in the water for extra calcium? I would imagine so. I would imagine that would work fine. I've never tried that personally. One of the other ways that I do is I would boil eggshells and then just put those into a little like a pantyhose or something like that, and add that into a filtration, into like a hang on back or something like that. Amanos are a really big shrimp and they don't breed, so the big shrimp will generally be okay with danios. It's normally the babies and stuff are the ones that they end up eating. Most Amano shrimp, even including well, I don't know if I have, no, I don't have any mono shrimp right now. Well, I did have mono shrimps in the 150, but I had them in there with a bunch of fish, and fish just can't eat a mono shrimps unless you get a big enough fish, like a little smallmouth bass or something like that. Then they definitely will. Boo doo 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 doo. Whoa, wine and wet sleeves. Do sumps need any light at all? Depends on your own your sump setup, like what you're doing in yours. I use a lot. I use a lot of my sump space for spare plants, things that need replanting or something like that. So I definitely need light on my sumps in order to keep all my spare plants and stuff like that going on down there. I'm definitely going to be building and incorporating some more aquaponic type situations into the sumps, which I don't know when that's going to happen. That's really just going to be like a winter project when I have a lot of time to like work with acrylic and things like that. And I'm just sort of in the shop and don't necessarily need to be outside. So that'll probably be coming up after Christmas, or maybe before Christmas, or New Year's, or after baby. I don't know. If I'm stuck in the house a bunch, I can glue some acrylic together and make some aquaponic type things or something, you know. So, you know. Hebrew Hammer says, "What's up with the stuttering?" It's on YouTube's end, man. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. People have mentioned that throughout the show. I don't know what's going on, why YouTube isn't sending it out to people properly, but my stream is working properly. And to prove that, I've got my replay playing right here. Check this out. Throughout the show, I don't know what's going on, why YouTube isn't sending it out to people properly, but my stream. Oh, never mind. It's actually playing through the thing. Okay, yeah, there we go. Sorry about that. So yeah, mine's playing here. I don't know why it's playing. I don't know why it's playing on your end. Josh Kelly's asking, did he just say Amanos don't breed? Amanos don't breed in fresh water. They will get buried with eggs, but they don't. They require brackish water and salt water and fresh water in order to fully raise the babies. So yeah, it's not that they don't. I mean, they're doing it, but none of their offspring will survive. Orange sun-kissed bee shrimp, aquatacy. Ooh, I look forward to seeing some of those. I'm super excited. As you guys can see, my shrimp posters are starting to go up. Yeah, I've got some of them framed now. Pretty excited about that. You know, that's good. It's always good to get shrimp posters up into their respective frames, right? But the reason I bring it up is Aquatic Experience is coming up super, super fast. So if you are not ready for it, it's basically 2 weeks away from tomorrow. So Aquatic Experience is a big convention. If you haven't gone to the Aquatic Experience convention, you should go and check it out. Should be a lot of fun. One of the best parts of it, hosted by Dennerley, is going to be the big shrimp contest, and Chris Lukup himself will actually be there as one of the representatives. I don't know who else is representing, and I don't want to speak for anybody else, but I know Chris will be there. We've discussed it on numerous occasions. He'll be there. The big shrimp contest is there. You'll be able to check out so many kinds of shrimp. It is very exciting. So it's very, very exciting. I'm looking forward to it. So it's in New Jersey. If you can work your way to go out there, I would go. It's going to be tons of fun. You can definitely meet a lot of cool people and see a lot of cool stuff. Jeff Muller's here. What's the best way to learn how to fertilize your tank? I just can't figure it out. The easiest place to start, testing for nitrates, is going to be the best place to start. Realistically, I would say if you wanted to start reading about fertilizing and stuff like that, aquariums, I would look into the BAR report. So if you put in, if you Google search the BARR report, Oh, I can't type right now. I can't type on this thing. There we go. The bar report is going to be a great spot for you to stop in and read a lot about aquarium fertilization. Tom Barr has done a ton of work putting that stuff together for years and years and years now, so feel free to go there, check it out, see what you can. Join up if you want. I don't know if you need to join up anymore. I have no idea what's going on with it, but that is a great forum to go read about stuff if you want to start reading about fertilizers. But start out by testing your nitrates and see what uptake is being taken up into your aquarium is what the advice I give almost everybody. Okay, so I want to say thanks to everybody for coming out. A special thanks to Rumbust, Josh Kelly, and Big Germ for your super chats today. I appreciate it. And huge, monumental shout out to our newest patronizer. Shoot, where did that go? Matt's. I remember it's Matt's Stevens. Thank you very much, Matt. Very much appreciate you kicking in today. If you're wondering what the Patreon is, here's a link in the chat. It's how we crowdfund, how we crowdsource being able to do projects and stuff like that. I know someday I hope to hit that upper echelon level where I'll be able to like really just be like, oh, I'm buying plane tickets and I'm going to people's places and starting to help them fix stuff up. But we'll see. We haven't reached that yet. I hope to someday. And I hope that day is sooner than later. All right. Love you guys. Thank you so much for coming out. Be sure to hit the like button. Hit the like button. Hit the like button. Hit the share button. Hit the share button. Hit the like button. Hit the share button. Hit the like button. Am I repeating myself? Am I repeating myself? Hit the like button, repeat. Hope everybody has a fantastic night out there. Don't light off any fireworks. Don't get too weird. Hit the like button. Don't forget to hit the like button. I'll find the button over here. CJ Black knows where the button is. Later.